Hello and welcome to the Well-Read Monocle. Today we are exploring a heavyweight of modern horror, Dan Simmons' 1989 epic Carrion Comfort. This is not a story of capes and coffins, but of mind vampires, predators who possess the ability to psychically enslave others and force them to commit horrific acts. It is a sprawling 900-page exploration of power, the pathology of violence, and the resilience of the human will. Let's delve into the dark world of the users. The premise, feeding on the soul. The core of the novel is the ability. In Simmons' world, certain individuals can reach into the minds of others, overriding their will and turning them into cat's paws or thralls. These predators, the users, do not drink blood. They feed on the massive psychic rush of emotion that occurs at the moment of a violent death. By orchestrating murders, massacres, and even historical assassinations, they sustain their own youth and vitality. The prologue. Chelmno, 1942. The story begins in the bleakness of the Chelmno death camp during the Holocaust. A young Jewish prisoner named Saul Laski is struggling to survive through sheer mental discipline. He is selected by a Nazi officer known as the Oberst, the colonel, who attempts to use the ability to force Saul to murder a fellow prisoner. Remarkably, Saul resists the psychic intrusion, an act that nearly breaks his mind, but leaves the Oberst fascinated. This encounter sets Saul on a lifelong quest for vengeance. Charleston, 1980. The reunion. The main narrative opens decades later in Charleston, South Carolina. Three elderly mind vampires, Melanie Fuller, Nina Drayton, and the Oberst, now a wealthy film producer named Willie Borden, meet for their annual reunion. They treat horrific acts of violence as a sport they call the game, tallying points for the murders they have orchestrated over the past year. However, the trio's alliance collapses. Melanie, feeling the weight of her years, announces she is quitting the game. Suspicious and paranoid, they turn on one another. Nina attempts to have Melanie assassinated by her own servant, Mr. Thorne. In a gruesome struggle at a marina, Melanie survives, retaliates, and executes Nina with an antique pistol that has its own dark history from their youth. Believing Willie has also perished in a plane crash she orchestrated, Melanie goes into hiding. The investigation. An unlikely trio. The carnage in Charleston attracts three very different hunters. First is Saul Laski, now a psychiatrist, who recognizes the resonance of violence in the murders and knows his old nemesis is nearby. He is joined by Sheriff Bobby Joe Gentry, a deceptively sharp Southern lawman, and Natalie Preston, the daughter of a local photographer murdered by one of the mind vampire's thralls. Together they begin to uncover a conspiracy that goes far deeper than three elderly killers. The Island Club. The protagonists soon discover the existence of the Island Club, a global cabal of powerful mind vampires who use the ability to control world events, industry, and politics. Led by the refined but ruthless C. Arnold Barrett, the club views the Charleston trio as loose cannons. The hunt leads the group to Philadelphia's Germantown district, where the Island Club has established a mobile command center, the Germantown Siege. In Germantown, the narrative reaches a fever pitch. Natalie is kidnapped by the club, and Saul and Gentry are forced to forge an alliance with a local street gang, the Soul Brickyard, whose members have been used as disposable pawns by Melanie Fuller. A violent street war erupts as the gang and the hunters siege the club's fortified location. While they manage to disrupt the club's operations, Gentry is tragically killed by Melanie's thrall, Vincent, during the escape. Dolmann Island. The final conflict takes place on Dolmann Island, the private retreat of the Island Club. The users decide to end the matter with one final game, a psychic chess match using the survivors as living pieces. As a storm batters the island, Saul faces the Oberst in a final duel of wills. Utilizing the mental discipline he began developing in the death camps, Saul is able to withstand the Oberst's psychic assault. In a brutal physical confrontation, Saul manages to strangle the Oberst, finally ending the monster's long life. Meanwhile, the Island Club's infrastructure is destroyed by explosives Saul smuggled onto the island, and the surviving members, including Barrett, flee back into the shadows of global power. The final confrontation. The novel concludes where it began, Charleston. Melanie Fuller has faked her own death, using a neighbor, Mrs. Hodges, as a body double, and is living as an invalid under the care of zombified servants. But Natalie Preston has not forgotten. She tracks Melanie down to her home. In a final act of justice, Natalie overcomes Melanie's attempt to use her and kills the old woman, ending the Charleston bloodline of mind vampires. The story ends with an epilogue set in 1988. Melanie Fuller, revealed to have survived yet again, or perhaps narrating from a place of isolation, is living in an abbey in France. She is alone, aging, and in her own words, very, very hungry. Carrion Comfort is a chilling reminder that the most terrifying monsters are not supernatural entities, but those who view other human beings as mere instruments for their own pleasure. It is a masterpiece of the genre that questions the very nature of human evil. Thank you for joining me at the Well-Read Monocle. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please do subscribe for more literary explorations. Until next time.